Awesome. All right, you guys, it is Wednesday. We have our Wednesday mastermind as always. Sorry, I have a dog barking in the background. And Bear, this is my big dog who is now, you guys, 115 pounds at 9 months. Just FYI, Candace, can you imagine? He's getting so big. He's
All I can think about is the amount of food it takes to keep them going.
This is a conversation that Chris and I just had the other day. We were like, did we think about that part of it? Because we're feeding like 2 teenagers right now. Like, but the only good news is we have our kids growing up and moving out. So we're just replacing it, you know, we aren't saving money. We're just replacing the money. So yeah, Bear particularly goes through a lot of food. Bella is starting to slow down a little bit, but holy moly, he eats a lot. And he's like a big teddy bear, by the way. If you ever been experienced a Saint Bernard before, I'm just telling you, if you're a dog person, I wouldn't say I've been a dog person my whole life. Not that I don't like dogs. I've just not like been an obsessed dog person. I like them, but I've never like just loved a dog, right? And I got these Saint Bernards, and I'm telling you, they're like human beings. They are like kids. They are so freaking cute and sweet and needy, which is probably why I love them. They just want attention and they want to hug and they want to cuddle. And I love that stuff. Like that's my jam. But they're huge. So he sits on my lap and I'm like, Bear, I cannot move. You can't be here for much longer. My legs are numb. So anyways, okay, now I'm off track. So, all right, we've got Angie Gerber here. For those of you that are friends with me on Facebook, you saw that Angie and I did a video not too long ago. So you probably got a little bit of a taste of some of the things that she is doing in her coaching and some of the things that has literally changed her life in coaching as well. The cool thing about Angie is that she has a tremendous amount of success selling real estate. She did a lot of cold calling. She, got herself uncomfortable and door knocked and cold called and did all the things and had a lot of success, which a lot of real estate agents don't immerse themselves in an environment like that and just don't have that experience. And then on top of that, to be able to really have this background of a unique coaching, mindset coaching, coupled with her knowledge in real estate transaction sales and in cold calling and scripts and all those things is very, very unique in my opinion. And so I'm super excited to have her as a partner in our Minnesota market, and along with Lisa Martin and Chrissy and Candy, who are all on the call today, actually, coincidentally. And she is also coaching people and helping people across the country. So I wanted to get her here in EXP Family Tree because I know that this is going to be a very, very important conversation you have with yourself as we move into the new market and as we are already moving in the new market, because what we know is our mindset is the first thing that matters. We can know all the scripts in the world. We can go do all the things. If we don't have the belief in ourselves, if we don't have the self-trust, if we don't show up, if we self-sabotage, even when we don't realize we are, it all boils down to whether we're going to be successful or not. So today we're going to talk about probably a combination of all those things, hearing from Angie, the lessons she's learned, how she has, changed her business and life, and how she's helping other clients do it. So without further ado, because we have a number of people watching live, I want to get us started. By the way, we are recording this. This will be on my YouTube channel, as always, you guys. So watch for it there if you want to rewatch it or invite a friend to it as well. So Angie, tell us a little bit more about yourself if you want to start out, just so people can get to know you, and then let's dive in.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much. So again, my name is Angie Gerber. I got into real estate around 2014 and went quickly into production. I joined a team and kind of just fit into this machine that was already running and learned a lot very quickly, and learned that failing forward and being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and all that stuff, which I had never really done before, was new to me. And yet somewhere you had to be. And if I wanted to be on the team, I knew what I had to do. So in doing that, I was one of those agents that continued to set goals, and I would shoot big, because you got to shoot big. If it's not big enough, it's not big enough. And I kept missing my goals, and I would do all the trainings. I would fly across the country, go to all the events. You can go to seminars, you can go to conventions, you can go to the best gurus, best coaches, and you're just like jazzed, and you're at these things and you're ready to rock and roll. And you're like, yes, I got this. This year's my year. And then where are you a week later, or 2 weeks later? At the most, a month later, you're right back to where you were. And I never understood that until 2017, when I hit a really personal rock bottom. in my personal life. And it was in that moment in being there that I was introduced to Bob Proctor and Proctor Gallagher Institute and this amazing information about like the knowing doing gap. Why is it that we know what to do and yet we don't do it? And time after time, I would be there and I would be in that place where I knew I should be making my callers, or I knew I should be doing this. And yet I would just sit there and I wouldn't do it. Even though 2 weeks later, I was on top of the world, ready to take on anyone that came near me and just like, so it was just a really interesting place to be. And it's changed my life. Every year I set my goal. And with this system and this process that I take myself through, I make it. And it's not surprising. And yet I'm always grateful for it because it truly is just a system of figuring out your paradigms, your habitual habits, and more importantly, your mindset, the habitual habits, how they got there, which not many people are aware, why they're there, and the most important thing of how to change them. Like, how do you really get in and do the work? So you're knowing doing gap, you know what to do, but you're not doing it. You close that. And I'm a product of the product, and I just have dedicated myself now to, I joined the Proctor Gallagher Institute. I'm a consultant for this material. It's in every country. It's helped millions of people. And I want to get it out to as many people as I can so that they can see results like me. Yeah.
Awesome. So are you going to talk about some of that today? Tell us what you're going to talk about today.
Yes. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about just that. So what paradigms are, how they're formed, and more importantly, how that we can start changing them and replacing them with what will serve us and get rid of the ones that no longer serve us.
Awesome. Do you need to share your screen? If you do, you can. Okay, perfect. You should have access.
Good. All right. So here we are. Let me move this and I will present. Okay, so anyone that knows me and has been to any of my live events, again, I start everything with gratitude. The first thing I learned with the first coach I hired when I was in that not so great spot is if you cannot be grateful for what you have right now, you're collapsing the energy and you're not allowing anything new or good into your life. So regardless, again, of if it's what you want or what you don't want, and especially when something not so good happens, or you could even say pretty bad, say good and find the good in everything and any challenge that you face. So every day, I believe you should start your day off with gratitude. You should write down 10 things that you're grateful for right away in the morning. And after each one, ask yourself why, so that you can really connect and get on the right frequency and vibration of that energy and what you're grateful for. And then the next thing I do with gratitude is I send love to 3 people that are bothering me. So truly, this is more for you and not for them, but it's getting on the screen of your mind, something that warms your heart, or maybe you've just done gratitude, and really send out love to 3 people that are bothering you. And then the third thing that I would do with gratitude every day is just sit quietly for 2 to 5 minutes and ask for guidance. You might not get it in the first day or first week or first month, but keep doing it and you'll start getting those little intuitive hits. I think that's so important. And so many of us just don't take time to slow down and start our day off right. Now, to get into the meat of it, so paradigms is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior, and 95% of our behavior is habitual. So again, that's when you get up and what you do and where you go and who you see and what you watch and what you do. And a lot of the habitual habits and the paradigms that we have today, I mean, some of us in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 70s, 80s, however old you are, the interesting thing is that those paradigms were formed by the time you were 8 years old. And you walk around and you live a lot of your life today from those original paradigms that were put there by people that were doing the best they could at the time with the resources and the information that they had. And yet, that's probably not a capital T truth for you any longer. And it can, more than likely, it can pretty much guarantee it's not serving you the way that it once might have been doing. So when we're young, we are a product of our environment more so than anything. A lot of it can be hereditary, but it's really, if you had a baby in New York and shipped it to Beijing, the baby's going to grow up with a different language, a different culture. It's not going to know any different. So again, the environment is so very important that we put ourselves in. And so it's just really becoming aware of that. Now, paradigms, 2 ways to get rid of the ones that no longer serve you. So I talked a little bit about the conscious mind, which I will go here to the next slide. Let me see here. So the conscious mind, if you look at the screen, the conscious mind is your educated mind. So that is where you learn, you gather information, you can accept or reject thoughts, premises, things people are saying, things that you're seeing, and it's really your intellect. So it's where you gather all the information. So what happens when you're younger is your conscious mind is wide open because you're really not rejecting anything at that point. So everything is getting fed into your subconscious through your conscious mind. Now, if you look at the subconscious, that's your emotional mind. So your subconscious mind really cannot reject anything. So anything that's fed into your conscious mind is going right into your subconscious. And that is a lot of where the paradigms are created and formed. Another thing that I like to make a note of with the subconscious mind is that you really, you can't tell the difference between reality and imagination. So this is where Olympic athletes will get hooked up to those little electrodes on their muscles, and they'll shut their eyes and they'll run their events in their mind, and their muscles will actually fire off as if they're running it or performing their event live, because again, the mind is such a powerful, powerful tool. And so many people don't take the time to study themselves and to really understand and know how to best use it and utilize it so that it's working for you and not against you. Yeah. And again, if anyone has any questions, just feel free to let me know. So going back to the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, so you have all the information that's coming in. And again, it's through repetition that it is impressed upon the subconscious mind. And once in the subconscious mind, your body will go into action or inaction, and that will cause your results. So the ways that you can change out the paradigms is really through the repetition, which I go through Thinking into Results, which is a 6-month coaching program that I facilitate through the Proctor Gallagher Institute. And it's really through positive affirmations. It's through watching the same videos. It's through really understanding and creating awareness around all this material and how you can apply it to yourself through repetition to release what no longer serves you, knowing that whenever you release or get rid of a paradigm, one will automatically fill behind it. So what are you filling it up with? Absolutely. And I love to point this out because if you think about it, we have a minimum of 60,000 thoughts a day. Many of them are self-talk. And just so you know, your subconscious is never at rest. Whether you're awake or sleeping, it is eavesdropping on you 100% of the time. So what you're thinking, and again, the program's called Thinking into Results, because what you're thinking will ultimately create your results. So if you're not liking your results right now, if you're that agent that keeps setting those goals like I was setting year after year, month after month, and you're just not achieving them, and you're not knowing how to change or close that knowing doing gap, it's really because of how we're thinking and the paradigms and how they're running whether we show up or not. It's a lot of, again, our habitual habits. So when you sit down to make those calls and you're like, oh, I have a headache, or I could do it later, or I was up later, or I was up with my kid in the middle of the night, or oh, I don't want to call that person. Again, it's all these paradigms that are coming up to stop you from taking action. And it's really about controlling your thoughts and how you're thinking, because 80% of our thoughts are unfortunately negative, and that's just kind of where we're going. And the thing is when you're triggered or when a thought comes up, many of us just aren't aware of it. And we're not aware of how impactful it can be on our business, on our relationships, on our life in general, our health. A lot of people have goals around health. that they just cannot close. They have that knowing doing gap. We know we shouldn't eat that pie. We know we shouldn't be doing that. We know we should go to the gym, but we find excuses and we find reasons not to do it. So it's really just creating, again, a heightened awareness around the whole system and how we work as humans and our thoughts and how our thoughts become things. I love this too. So, what's the first few things you do when you wake up in the morning? So think about what you start thinking about right away in the morning. Do you think about how amazing of a day you're going to have, how you're going to crush it? Or do you think about something that went wrong yesterday? You think about something that you wish you would have done differently, or I like to call it the Monday morning quarterback. Oh, I should have said this, or I should have done that. And we're just living so much in the past. And really not setting ourselves up for a successful day. So I encourage everyone to just take inventory. I would absolutely, if you're not starting your day with gratitude, I would start with that and then really pay attention to your thoughts. And the good news is that we can interrupt and disrupt our patterns and our habitual behaviors and our paradigms through awareness. When something's coming up and we're having a thought that we are not wanting to be aligned with, you can reject it. Again, because the conscious mind, you can reject it and you can stop impressing it upon your subconscious, which is where you move into action, because your thoughts create feelings, which is your subconscious. So that's where you have your feeling state. So from your subconscious, you'll take action or inaction. And it's the action you take that create your results. So I always say, if you don't like the results you're getting, you have to back it up. And it truly all starts with your thoughts and how you're thinking. And I love, you can have fear or faith. They both demand you believe in something you cannot see. So you choose, are you going to set those big goals? And I do a whole other presentation on goals. There's 3 types of goals. There's a goal, which you already know, you already have. You got it already. There's a B goal, which it's an okay goal. You know how to get it, so you're comfortable in setting that goal because you'll get it. And then there's your C goal, which is something that you desire, that you just have the desire and the want to have, and you have no idea how you're going to do it. And that's where fear or faith comes in, because if you have the faith that you will get there, and again, the whole program with Thinking into Results talks about your higher faculties, which are right here. So if you look at the top right box, you have imagination, intuition, reason, will, memory, perception. And if you look at the top of your conscious mind here, you have your 5 senses. So if you go back to school, and if you think about what we were taught in school, we were taught to live from our 5 senses. So that's what I call living from the outside in. So that's where we show up and we let our bank account dictate how we feel. We let the circumstances, we let we could talk about everything that's going in our world right now. And we're letting all this information feed into our thoughts, which then go to our subconscious. And then what action do we not take? Because we're choosing to let all of the outside world and what our senses are telling us really dictate how we show up. And again, when we go to school, you get told a little bit to use your imagination, but for the most part it was, what do you do? Quit daydreaming, quit staring out the window. So we were shut down as well on our higher faculties. And Albert Einstein said it. He said our higher faculties, which are the sacred gift, have become where we ignore the sacred gift of our intellectual factors, and we honor the servant, which is our 5 senses. So it's really about the whole shift in how we look at things, how we interpret the information that we're having. And it's really just, again, having the awareness and the knowledge that it can be different. There is a system, there is a process that can get you different results if you plug in and do the work. And that's, again, where I'm a product of the product. And that's where I had to get it out to everyone, because year after year, since 2017, I've set my C goals and I've made it. And then I do it again. And then at the end of the year, I'm like, wow, And again, I'm not surprised, because if you set that goal and you have faith and you really focus on it, the universe will show up and it will put the people, it will put the systems, it will put the places you need to be, the tools you need, the resources, the money. You know, I talk to Carrie, you know, the growth collaborative. I joined along with my business partner about a month ago, and I just knew, you know, it was a decision I made 2 minutes after talking to her. You know, if you make decisions fast and change them, if at all. And that's what successful people do. And I knew right away, you know, and I have, the beautiful thing is that I know it's going to be amazing, and yet I'm along for the ride, and the people, the systems, the places, the money, what I need will show up along the way, because I chose to have faith in it. Yeah. And again, so if you're not getting your current results, are not what you want and not what you desire, you back it up to what thoughts are you letting in. You know, a lot of what we watch on social media, what we're YouTubing, the podcast, the people you're hanging around with. You know, I have some family members that are pretty negative, and I asked Bob, I'm like, well, I can't not go see them. He's like, I'm not telling you to cut people out of your life. I'm just simply saying, don't go as often and don't stay as long. So really, it's about protecting you, protecting your energy. And again, I can't say it enough, and I'll never stop saying enough, the awareness that the program and the system creates, you can't unknow it, and you can't be unchanged from it. So it's very amazing.
Yeah. And I think we just all, like, we all have, you said something, we all have opportunities for doors to open, opportunities to come in front of us, things to show up, people to show up. The problem is, a lot of us aren't, we're not focusing on what we want to have. We're focusing on what we don't have, or we're focusing on what we don't like, instead of focusing on what we want. And so we block the opportunity for our mind to find it and see it, but it's like it's floating around us already within reach, but we don't see it yet. But once we start opening our heart and mind to something and being open, all of a sudden, oh, I see this opportunity. I see this opportunity, this person. Oh, that was coincidental. No, it wasn't coincidental. And so you start to get in a habit of being open, and then more things come, and then you see more things come, and then you're like, oh, now I'm going to look for more. So it's a virtuous cycle if you can start to embrace it too. I noticed for me, the second I started to be open to it, then more came, and then I became more aware, and then I saw things faster and easier, and I could make those quick decisions because I was really confident in what was happening, and that was just over time. But you have to start somewhere to start letting that in.
Yeah. Well, and absolutely. And I think what I didn't realize before I found this information, and now I know it because I live it every day, is truly what you're thinking about is what you're attracting. And so if you're in that mindset of lack and of, you know, if you're thinking debt and you keep thinking debt, I got to get out of debt. This is so heavy, you know, debt. Well, you're going to get more debt and you're not going to go anywhere. So like my first coach said, set a repayment plan and focus on prosperity, focus on what you do want. Because if you continue to sit and focus on where you're at in your current circumstances, you're going to just attract more of it. So what you think, and again, lake energy attracts lake energy. So what you're putting out is what you're going to get more back of. So Steve Jobs said it too. He's like, you can't connect the dots moving forward. You can only connect them moving backwards, because it's all about the frequency and vibration. Everything's connected. So your C goal and the big goal that you want is already done. It's already out there. So it's about setting it. And then again, using your imagination, your reason, your memory, your will, and the perception, and absolutely your intuition to follow your intellectual higher faculties in order to aid you to get to your C goal. And again, so many of us, I would say, I think the last stat was maybe 5% of the population understands and really embraces this material. The other 95%, why do you do what you do? Because that's what you do. You get up, you go to work, you got to work hard to make money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Think of all the things that we were told. I mean, if I got $1 for every time I dealt with a money paradigm, I wouldn't have to worry. I wouldn't have to show up and do anything, because there's so many things that we were programmed and just said to us over and over again, or when our conscious mind was open and our subconscious was wide open, that just went in there, that are so many people's, it's not their truth anymore. And yet they don't realize it. They don't understand it. They just know that. Why do you do that? Well, that's because that's what you do. That's what we do. You have to do that. That's what I was told, So again, a lot of it's just the habitual. It's the hereditary and environmental. So, I know Bob had also said that if you look at, he used welfare, for example. He's like, if you look at some of the welfare recipients, they're 4th, 5th, 6th generations, because the cycle has not been broken, because they haven't stepped out and become the 1 to 5% of the people that embrace this material and really understand that you can change. There can be a difference. There can be different choices and opportunities and decisions. You just have to make them and have the process and the system that shows you exactly how to do that. And then not only why I love this, and I paid to become a consultant for Procter Gallagher, is it shows you how in a very systematic way. Bob Proctor studied this for over 60 years and put it in a system where I can facilitate this to a 10-year-old to a 90-year-old. It can work for anyone. It's just plugging in and actually understanding it, becoming aware, and doing the work to get rid of the paradigms and the habitual habits that will stay. Because nothing, I will tell you, nothing changes if nothing changes. You can pay every coach in the world. Again, you can fly across the country, you can fly across the world, you can do whatever you want to try to get that fix. But nothing changes if nothing changes. And that just resonated with me so much. And again, I live it every year. Yeah. Good.
Looks like there's a question.
Yes.
Do you want to take a question?
Yeah. Can you read it to me? It's not coming up for me.
Oh, unless
Hillary's got a
Hillary,
hand raised.
you want to unmute yourself? Yes, thanks, Lisa.
Okay. My question is generational. My grandmother to my mother, and they were all single women raising children. And I'm married though, but I'm still having money traumas.
Mhm.
How do you frame it so that you're not feeling like you're lying to yourself?
Mhm. Again, that's where it's the whole program. This is just a snippet of 12 lessons, again, that I would go through over a half a year period. So it's pretty in-depth program. And to answer the long version short of that is, again, it's about fear or faith. So you can choose to live in fear of where you're at with the money, or you can choose to set goals and live from faith. Because you're living from your outside, your senses, your hear, smell, taste, touch, see. And that's what we were trained to do. That's what we were taught to do. We weren't taught to use our imagination, use our will to hold what we want on the screen of our mind long enough to impress it upon our subconscious. So again, it's really just about reprogramming those habitual habits that have gone through your generation to generation to generation. And it's all you know. And what I also learned early on is that we're all doing the very best we can with where we're at, with the knowledge and the information we have at that very time. So like when we were being raised as kids, as we're raising our kids. And the beautiful thing is that with knowledge and power, I'm always a student. So I'm a teacher and a coach and a student, because I'm always learning. And if you're not learning and growing and getting better, you're moving backwards, to be quite honest. So it's really just about embracing that it can be different. and
Mhm.
working on your habitual habits and your beliefs around that. So it's through positive affirmations. I have a whole series of positive affirmations, and when you say them, how often you say them. I will say 3 times a day, 5 times in each eye, because your eyes are the gateway to your soul. So you say your positive affirmation in a mirror in your right eye 5 times, and you turn it to the left. And again, it's through the repetition and impressing through your conscious mind to your subconscious that it will become true, and it will become a capital T truth to you versus a small t is what I call it, just to kind of differentiate the two, because all the paradigms right now that live inside of us that no longer serve us are truths with a small t. They really aren't truths. So we got to turn those into truths with a capital T that will actually make the impact and the difference that we desire and want for ourselves, for our families, for our spouses, for our businesses. It's all holistic. Absolutely.
Interesting.
So that's a great question, because I've talked to many people around that they kind of self-sabotage in the area of finances, even though they're aware that they're aware they do it. They aren't maybe aware of the daily activities, but they're aware generally that they do it. And it is something that has kind of been oftentimes passed down from generations, because that's where we're conditioned. It's where our thoughts come from, our belief system. So it's really the belief system that we have to change. And then we have to change that we are someone that can break free from that. Because don't you think that a lot of people, they would like to, and they think it's possible kind of, but they're like, this has been in generations of my family, and who am I to be the one that changes it? And is it really possible for me to change it? So when you have all of that doubt, are you really moving forward with a true new belief system? Probably not.
Yeah, that's the paradigms, and that is the paradigms. And Bob Proctor, my first coach I hired, he recently passed away. But every day, from till the day you leave this earth, every day, I don't care how good of a coach, how good of a guru, how good of you are at this mindset stuff, you will fight and battle your paradigms every single day, because they're there to keep you safe. It's just like the tear barrier is another one. You'll come up against the tear barrier, and there's you start in bondage and you get an idea, and then you move into action, and then when it's time to implement and it's time to go, and move on it, you'll more than likely, unfortunately, so many dreams and so many desires die on the cutting room floor because people don't break through the tear barrier. They decide, I couldn't do it. Who am I? I'm not worthy. I mean, my first positive affirmation coming out of the biggest, rock bottom in my life was just looking in the mirror, crying, saying, I am worthy. I mean, there's so many things that we have to work on as ourselves, and it's lies and it's paradigms, and they're there to lie to us and to keep us comfortable. You don't need that. Even Bob said, I make millions a year. Why do I need to do this new thing? You're comfortable. You're fine. Don't do that. So it doesn't matter if you have $10 in your bank account or $10 million in your bank account. This is something that we have to deal with as people every single day. And again, it's through the system. It's through creating the awareness and then understanding when they're happening and when they're coming up. And you saying, yeah, not today. Again, I'm going to choose differently because I am worthy. Who am I? I'm Angie, and I can do it, and I'm amazing, and I got this. And again, it's through your intellectual higher faculties and using those to get you to your goals versus letting what is real and right now and circumstantial. If you don't like the circumstances, go and create new ones that make the circumstances today obsolete.
Yeah. This is amazing. Somebody asked, what would be an example of some financial affirmations that maybe you've helped people with, if you have any off the top of your head?
Oh, there's so many. There's so many amazing ones. So if you're, what is your goal? A lot of what I talk about too, in using the imagination, is, let's say you want to make $1 million a year. A lot of people think $1 million is a lot of money. Some people think $1 million isn't all that much. So let's say your goal is $1 million a year. So I'm so happy and grateful now that I am earning. So your positive affirmation should be two things that I want to point out. Number one, it should be as if it's here and already done. So it's like, I can't wait till. That's not a positive affirmation. It's as if it's already here and done. I am so happy and grateful now that I am closing X amount of deals, making $1 million, whatever it is that you want to attract and your C goal is, that is what you do. So again, it's showing up as if today, again, using your imagination, living from as if it's already here and done. So if you make say $150,000 a year, and you want to make $1 million a year, I encourage you every morning, say your positive affirmation. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm an amazing, successful agent. I have X amount of clients, whatever that number is for you. I make $1 million or more. Never cap your C goal. Leave room for more. So I make $1 million or plus a year. I work with 20 or more clients a year, whatever that is. So those two things, as if it's already done, and don't cap it. And then I encourage you, what does that look like? So who do you show up as today as if it's already done? So what does a person making $1 million a year, what are they doing today? What are they doing when they wake up? What are their positive affirmations? What are their daily habits? What paradigms have they got rid of? And start showing up as if it's already done and complete, and impress through repetition, impress that upon your subconscious. And the universe has no other option but to give you the people, the resources, the money, the circumstances, the opportunities will be laid out in front of you if you connect to it. That's a great question. So many money paradigms. Absolutely.
I love it. Who else? Who has some other things to say? Because I think that you're making people think. So I can sense that some people want to talk. And so this is the perfect time, you guys, to just unmute if you can, wherever you are, share, talk, because we've got a good, 15 minutes to do so.
Yeah. I could talk about it all day. I see posts on Facebook. What could you talk about for 8 hours? Well, this is mine. I absolutely, again, I love it. It's life-changing, and there's so much more I could talk about, but I want to make it relevant to who's here and what you want to talk about.
Let me know what you think about this. I heard this as well. So, hang on, of course, my dogs start barking.
Kevin.
So yeah, Kevin. So one of the things that I've also learned or been told, yes, I'm all about doing exactly what you said, the affirmations as if, right? And being very careful about your words, not putting a limit on it, not saying I'm debt free, but how about I'm enjoying financial freedom. It's like really being careful of your words. But one thing I also heard is that when you're writing your gratitude statements, I am thankful for, I am so appreciative of, when you're doing that in the morning, I've also heard that if you interject one thing into the middle of your gratitude statements as if, right? So you're saying you're grateful for all the things that have happened to people, whoever, but then maybe there's something that hasn't happened yet, and you're writing that into your gratitude statements as well. Have you heard that, or what do you think about that? Because I've done it, and it's just, I feel like it's kind of powerful. It gives that new energy to it.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's where a lot of that is with the training I do on future self. So again, it's living as if it's already done. So like we talked about, who was at my live event yesterday. We all have these phones, and they all have the memo recordings where you can record on them. So what I like to do, and mine went from 4 minutes to 7 minutes down to 6 minutes, is when you're at your highest energy for the day, take some time and write down, your goals around business, your goals around personal relationships, spiritual health, the things that matter the most to you. Write down as if it's already done here. Maybe your year goal. Where do you want to be a year out from now? So write all that down with what's important to you, and you have to feel it, and truly this is where you're at and where you want to go. So it's got to be big and worthy of you. And then what you do is when you're at your most energy and you want to be up and walking around, you record that. I'm so happy and grateful now that I am making $1 million or more a year. I'm in the best physical shape of my life. I enjoy eating organic foods and being able to afford the luxury of bringing the vacation, we've already been to Belize, or we've been to Disney World. It was an amazing trip. I did this, I did that, and really feel it as if it's already done. And that you listen to when you're in your car instead of the radio, or you listen to it while you're in the shower, right before you're going to bed, and you impress that upon yourself. So absolutely, future self-talk, and as if it's already here and done, is so important. One of my coaches right now, Raj, he does 20 I am statements every morning, where he just does I am statements, and he does his positive affirmations to music because it pumps him up. It gets him in a good frequency and vibration. There's no right or wrong way to do this, or one way to do this. What's important is that you connect to the frequency through the vibration and get on the right frequency of your goal and of your energy, and really being able to, if it's through music, if it's through writing, if it's through dance, whatever it is, but just be able to show up. And again, going back to gratitude and why we send love to 3 people that are bothering us, because truly that's really for us, and almost everything to do with us and very little to do with them, because you want to get on, again, the right vibration so you can hook to your frequency. Because if you're pissed off, if you're mad, if you're in, rejection, or you're frustrated, or you're sitting in the muck of a situation and you're just going to sit there, I always talk about the two. And again, the awareness creator on the program, you have 2 seconds you could sit there. 2 minutes, 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. Like, how long are you going to sit there for? I can tell you in some situations, I did years and wasted so much time and energy before I found this information, sitting in the victim, or sitting in the ick, or sitting where, it's not my fault, not taking responsibility at all. And what I learned too, when I found this information is, through appreciation, they said, take your hardest relationship and find 25 things you appreciate about that person. And I said, no, not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And so I started, and I was just like, okay, I'll get 5. And eventually I got my 25. And it's, again, perception. So you can put a problem in the middle of the table, and depending what chair you're sitting at, you're going to see the same thing from a different perception. And that's kind of like it is with our relationships and with people that we might not be jiving with. And what I learned is, by me throwing all this like hate and victim and just frustration and anger and, just hostility, it was like I was drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Or I'm picking up a hot coal and throwing it at them and missing. Like, who's getting burned and who's getting hurt? And it's through knowing that your thoughts and what you're thinking and what vibration you're on and what you're putting out is, just imagine it's a magnet. You're going to get it back. So that's why I ended up in such a really hard place before I found this information, because I was not in a good place energetically. And I was attracting what I was giving out, which wasn't very good. So it's really about, again, 17th time awareness around that it can be different. You can have different choices, decisions, and it's through the process in the system that that's been created through the Proctor Gallagher Institute that it can all change. Absolutely.
This is so exciting and so powerful because, we've talked about this before. And I think maybe Hillary, you even were saying this, like, there's not always a space for this type of conversation. And when I met Angie, thankfully through Lisa, because Lisa, being such a great leader, I think saw an opportunity for her business partner and was like, we gotta talk about this because it's going to benefit all of us. And that's just a leadership lesson. And I wanted to give kudos to Lisa for that as well. But when Angie and Lisa and I all met and we were talking about this, there's just not a lot of people that are willing to broach these types of conversations. And they also are a little bit unwilling to admit that this all leaks into business. And so it's just very easy to throw business solutions, another script, another, CRM application. Like, it's very easy to find those things to throw at business problems, but in reality, none of the problems that we face in business are really business in nature. Usually they are our personal problems showing up in our business, especially as entrepreneurs. And so I do believe that this is a very, very important conversation for every entrepreneur to be having. And it can help us then take the tactical things that we're learning and actually go do something impactful with them when we can kind of overcome these personal things that are getting in our way in the first place. So I just find this conversation to be very, very helpful. And I'm glad that you guys are all here willing to also embrace this conversation, because I think it's really going to impact you positively in your business, because you are.
Yeah. Well, and I know, and I didn't quite understand until I got into this information, like, you got to change your mindset. You got to change your mindset. It's about your mindset. I'm just like, what is what? Like, okay, but how, but what? And that's why the stick person in my presentation where you take the circle and you separate it, because there isn't a picture of the mind. No one has, and we're such visual beings that we need something visual. So that's where they came up with the stick figure, so that you can kind of understand, yes, that's my conscious mind. That's my learned mind. That's where I collect my information. That's where I can accept or reject. But once it gets into my subconscious and I've, through repetition, impressed it upon my subconscious, that's where the emotional is. That's where you can't reject anything. So whatever you're choosing to be around, to feed, to be a part of the conversations, eavesdropping on your thoughts, what's out and about. And that's where, again, the people that may be a little bit more negative, it's really important, once you again have this awareness, and you can't unknow this, and you can't understand it, and you can't unfeel it. So it's about holding your vibration and frequency. And what happens is, through you showing up differently and showing up as you choose to, that one of two things will happen. The people around you will come up, or they'll go away. But what happens so often is people drop down because we're empathetic, or we want them to know we understand them, or I feel your pain, I'm right there with you, and that's where we just get into that vicious circle. Whereas you have to make the decision, and the conscious decision, to choose differently, to hold yourself at a higher level, a higher frequency, higher vibration, make different decisions, get habitual habits to stick. And it's through, again, the process and the repetition and the program that teaches you exactly how to do that. So, yeah, and it affects everything, because how you show up here is how you show up everywhere. And in the paradigms, and what you choose to embrace or let be your excuses will just continue until you disrupt and interrupt and choose differently. Yeah.
So Angie, what's the practical way for someone to start? Let's say they can't necessarily do the Thinking into Results program, but they really want change in their life, and they have had those goals that they've set, and then they don't achieve them, and then they think goals are stupid. And what would you advise for someone who's been in that, where they have that knowing doing gap? What are some practical applications that a person could use to take some of this information and get started with it?
Yep. Always and foremost, again, start with gratitude. Find what you're grateful for with where you're at right now today. Do your gratitude exercise. And after every one you write down, ask why, and really connect with that. So I think that it starts everything. It starts everything, the trajectory of everything going the right way. Then it's the affirmations. It's watching, eavesdropping on your thoughts yourself from an outside perspective, and really looking at what you're thinking, why you're thinking it. If something comes up and it's just like, yeah, I don't need to do that. Create awareness around really just taking a moment to think about it and to understand it, because 90% of people don't think. We just do. Why do you do this? That's why they say if 2 people are going that way and 90 are going that way, you should probably follow those 2 people, because the 90 people are just doing what they do because everyone's doing it. So it's really about understanding and just choosing differently. I think the positive affirmation, the mirror exercise, as uncomfortable as it is in the beginning, is a big one. Your future self and recording it, and just get yourself thinking differently and hearing differently. And that's something that you can do through repetition right away. Absolutely.
Well, and I did want to say, I think everybody should be in thinking into results. I have been going through the program myself, and I see a lot of change in me, and I know there's a lot more change that needs to happen. And I appreciate you sharing all this information, because it is life-changing, but change only comes by repetition. And so that's what I have learned, and sort of incorporated some habits into my life where I've got that repetition, which then has allowed me to change and has created a lot of awareness, where, I always thought I was pretty aware, but I don't think I was as aware as I need to be in order to make big change in my life. So I appreciate that program as well.
Well, absolutely. And like I said, I reset my goal and I go through it every year. And the beautiful part about self-development, I mean, if you go to any of the largest athletes, the most successful people at the top of the big organizations, they have coaches, they have mentors, they most likely have advisory boards. The top athletes don't have just one coach, they have many. So surrounding yourself with people and wanting to learn, and you yourself investing in yourself to learn, it's the step. And you're never going to hear this the same. Like, I know a few of you were at my live event yesterday. It's a lot of the same slides, and yet completely different than the conversation yesterday. You're never going to read the book the same. You should read the same books if you find a good one over and over again, because you're going to be different every time you watch one of these videos, you talk to your coach, you go through the information, because you're different than you were the day before, because you intentionally have leveled up. And you're going to hear it differently. You're going to read it differently. It's going to resonate in a different part of your being, because you're not the same as you were. It's just like you can't put your toe in the water of a stream and hit the same water twice. That's just like us and moving, get in the downstream. So it's an easy flow versus fighting upstream, like so many of us are doing all the time. It's just fighting and trying and going upstream. It's so beautiful when you connect to this information and you can just go along and downstream and just enjoy the flow. Yeah. Good. 155. Any other questions? I could talk forever, so I want to leave it open for anyone that wants to unmute and just ask a question, or I'd love to hear some ahas. Yep, go ahead.
I have a friend that's going through a really rough time, and all of a sudden everything turned crazy negative.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something I can do because it's like she's not going to hear anything,
Mm-hmm.
but something that I can do to support?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you go in at your higher level of vibration on a higher frequency and hold it. Don't go down to meet her where she's at, because then you're just not helping her or the situation. So you hold it and you just say things, and you drop truth bombs with a capital T, or you try to, it's a dance, because you don't want to point out the good, because then that will get her even eventually, what I've found is more angry.
Yeah.
But make her like understand or see, or get her through questions, open-ended questions, and just asking to see the good, or to see the possibilities, or to see, what if it looked like this, or what if you chose to, just for today or just for an hour, feel this way instead of that way? Or what if you chose or made a different decision that you were just going to change one thing? You don't have to do it all at once. What one thing could you do that would give you 2% out of the 100 of a sense of control back, or a sense of forward movement, or getting in the stream downward versus upward? Or again, find 5 things to be grateful about. And it's hard if you're not in that place and all you want to do is be negative and look at everything that's bad. Help them sit down. I'd love to just try this exercise with you. Will you entertain me for a minute? And just start that little bit of a shift. You can't bite it all at once, but little bites.
And who knows, maybe she would, take you up on the offer to even talk to Angie, for an example, because Angie works with people outside of real estate. This isn't just real estate work. So sometimes just saying, I've really been thinking about you, and I really care about you. And just coincidentally, I got on this call and I met this woman and this is what we talked about. And I don't think it was a coincidence. I think I met her at the time that you might need her. So, she said she would, just do a free conversation. Would you be open to that? Sometimes, people are open to having a conversation with someone they don't know anything about and no one knows them. Because sometimes, to your point, Angie, being close to someone can sometimes make it a little bit harder to have those conversations, at least at first.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really just what I did with the people that are negative in my life is I said, but what if that wasn't the case? Or what if that wasn't true? Or what would this look like? And just ask these imagination questions where you have to kind of like, well, that would never happen. Well, and I know, and you're probably right. So confirm and validate. Yeah. But just play with me. What if that could actually happen? Or what if it could actually be this way? And again, just shifting the energy a little bit. And I will say this quick before we go, if ever, you're in these battles or in these conversations and it's just not aligning with you and you're just like, oh, I don't want that. What Bob taught me is like, just say that's interesting and change the subject. So if someone's like gossiping or talking or saying stuff and you're not in alignment with it, be like, interesting. So for Thanksgiving, I knitted, and just switch the subject and people more than likely won't come back to it because they'll kind of be like, what? Okay. So that's another thing that I do to protect my energy a little bit. Just say, interesting. All right. And switch it up.
Very good.
I love it. So I'm going to put in here Angie's email. It's just angiegerber@gmail.com.
Yep.
Right, Angie?
Yes.
And you can find her work chat if you're here with an EXP, of course. Just look her up and work chat her. If you want to reach out to her and just pick her brain, or if you would like to talk more about her program or anything like that. I know, Angie's mission is to get out here and show as many people about this program as possible, simply because it literally changed her entire life. And so she wants to pay it forward. And that's why she's spending a lot of her time doing it. At the same time, she is helping a lot of real estate agents have success in real estate alongside these tactics. So we're going to bring her back and have her come in and just dig into like one thing at a time in future calls as well. So if this is interesting to you, maybe Angie will come back a couple times a month and just do kind of a mastermind around this as well. And so, just keep watching. EXP Family Tree is always for it. And in the chat is her email. And so if there's anything else that you need from her, you can reach out from here. This is recorded. This is live streamed. So of course, as always, you can go ahead and rewatch if you want to. Thank you so much, Angie, for being here. You guys, thanks for spending the time. I think if you can just take one thing away from this, it's going to be a blessing in your life and business. So I'm super grateful that we've been able to have this conversation today.
Thank you all. Really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.